All right, so this is Windows 11, and this is my sort of initial impressions. I've been running this for a few days now, and so far it's actually been really good. I find it feels just as fast as Windows 10, if not a little bit faster. It boots up quite fast, and some of these programs like GIMP, this was made for Linux initially and then ported to Windows, so it's always felt a little bit slow loading up, and it's really fast here. Same with Raw Therapy. That's a program that I think was originally written for Linux. It seems to load up a lot faster on Linux, but here it loads up pretty quickly. Davinci Resolve is working. This is what I use for video editing. This is a free version. The free version of Davinci Resolve lets you do quite a bit, and so that's what I've been using. And you got a lot of color correction stuff, audio correction stuff, and yeah, it's pretty robust, and it's been pretty solid. So that's Davinci Resolve. And again, it loads up pretty fast on here. Steam loads up pretty fast. As far as gaming goes, Metro Last Light Redux. I started playing on Windows 10 before I, reinstalled Windows 11 here. And, 1440p Ultra is running at like 98 frames per second. I don't know if the game has like a limiter or something, 100 frames per second limit. But either way, it's actually running the exact same here, so that's good. Microsoft Flight Simulator, on the other hand, though, actually in VR runs a lot faster, and I'm not sure if that's just a coincidence. There's a lot of variables with Microsoft Flight Simulator. There's a lot of variables with the VR. Which version of the Oculus software are you using? Which version of Steam VR are you using? The OpenVR XR stuff in Windows has some updates and some tweaks that you can do. What version of Flight Simulator are you running? What version of your video card drivers are you running? AMD or NVIDIA? A lot of variables to how the VR and Flight Simulator is going to perform. It's also a program that's been updated and updated and updated. And when I reinstalled Windows 11, when I reinstalled Steam, I didn't have to download any games except for Flight Simulator. So it's a quote-unquote fresh install of Flight Simulator instead of one that's been updated and updated and updated. So there's just a lot of variables there, but it's running noticeably better, I think, now. So yeah, CPU, bring up Task Manager here. My CPU is a Ryzen 7 5800X, 8-core, 16-thread, and we got 32 gigs of RAM. We can see that it's not using a lot right now. But initially when Windows 11 launched, there was some performance issues with the Ryzen processors, something to do with the way the L3 cache worked and the single-threaded. There's a preferred core when you're running a program that's heavily single-threaded, and it's gonna mainly push one core the hardest. Or there's a preferred core that technically performs the best on a Ryzen processor, and Windows is supposed to know to hit that one up with the most heavily single-threaded program, and that wasn't working right. This is something that AMD fixed about a week ago or so, a little over a week ago now, with the chipset driver update. So if you have like a 500 series chipset, I think it's 500. I don't know if this issue only affects Zen 3 or all the Ryzens, but I downloaded like the latest chipset drivers for my B550 motherboard, and that supposedly fixed everything. So again, as far as I'm concerned, everything's running as fast, if not faster than it was in Windows 10. But keep in mind, if you're running a Ryzen processor, you're going to want to make sure you got those latest AMD chipset drivers installed. I guess first of all, a few things I've tweaked. We've got it in dark mode, obviously, and we've moved, by default, your start bar and this kind of like taskbar stuff is all in the center, and you can move it to the left. So I think that's one of the first things most people do is move this to the left. The start bar is quite drastically different But to be honest, I typically never use the start bar other than right-clicking on it, to get to device manager or disk management. It's all really quick to get to some of that stuff there. Typically don't really use the start bar. If I need to find a program, I'll just type in, calculator. I've always found that's quicker than diving through all apps or whatever. Typically just don't use this. So yeah, I do like the way some of this stuff here, like the this notification area looks, the calendar, your sort of quick settings that you're going to change on a regular basis, your Wi-Fi and your Bluetooth, your volumes right here. And if you click the little right arrow, you've got all your playback devices, fairly similar to how it was in Windows 10, just slightly different, which just really sums up everything. Everything's similar but slightly different looking. This is really, when it comes down to it, this is basically Windows 10 with rounder edges. Really is all it is. There is some tweaks for DirectX 12 and HDR. I think the way that auto HDR is handled when you're switching between movies and games and stuff that are HDR, apparently the OS handles that a little bit better. My monitors, by the way, we're only looking at my main monitor in this video. There's a second one beside it. I'm running 2 gigabyte brand 1440p. There's a 170 hertz, 0.5 millisecond FreeSync, IPS. Really nice monitors. I initially had one, and my second monitor was a 27-inch curved VA panel, an MSI brand. But I ended up selling that monitor and buying a second one of these gigabytes. So I've got dual matching 1440p monitors now, which is really nice. But yeah, I guess that's it. Overall, initial impression is actually pretty positive. I haven't had any issues. Everything here is working fine. I got 7-zip installed. I got OBS, obviously, is what we're using right now to screen record. RetroArch is working fine. Basically, everything's working fine. Everything's working and it feels at least as fast, if not faster, than Windows 10. Microsoft Flight Simulator in VR, definitely faster than it was in Windows 10. And the only other game I played was running equally. So, yeah, really no major complaints. A few minor complaints I really don't like. For example, if we go to like downloads, if you right-click on a file and you want to copy and paste, it's these little icons now. And I can kind of understand that's cut, that's copy. When you copy and then you go to paste, you get this little paste. But like this is rename. Like I don't get how this icon is supposed to be rename. That's kind of strange. And like where's, for example, I have 7-zip installed. Normally I would right click on here's a RAR file. So normally I could right click on that and we would have a 7-zip, extract here or extract to a folder. So that kind of old right-click menu. Well, now you have to go to Show More Options, and here's your old style, like right-click menu. When you right-click on a file, and there's your 7-zip. So if you want to extract here or extract to a folder, it's still there. It's just one extra click away, and you can see those same sort of icons mirrored up here. If you want to make a new folder, it's an extra click. And just again, I don't really care for the way these look. I really don't care for the rename icon. Minor complaints, and these are maybe something that you can change. Maybe you can set it so this is the default right click. There's probably a way to do it, but again, I've only been using this for a few days. This is a really quick initial impression, and again, these are minor complaints, really not affecting how it runs. Again, everything's been running great. Really, everything's working. So yeah, it's running great. So initial impressions are good.